You could call it Boko Haram's answer to news that neighboring Chad had sent backup to Cameroon. Nigerian radicals carrying out an unprecedented cross-border raid this weekend, kidnapping dozens. Add that to another raid last week in another nearby town in northern Cameroon, and the January 3rd bloodbath that took place in Baga, described as the worst since Boko Haram stepped up attacks 6 years ago. Many wondering if it's up to troops from neighboring countries to pick up the slack from a beleaguered Nigerian army and even chase the insurgents on Nigerian soil. The rest of the world harking back this past weekend to last spring's Bring Back Our Girls campaign, with human rights campaigners rallying Sunday in major world cities, how to counter Boko Haram, and what role for Nigerian leaders. More focus, say critics, on a close February 14th presidential race than on events in the impoverished Northeast. Today in the France 24 debate, who is going to stop a brazen Boko Haram? With us, Cameroonian journalist Julie Owono of Internet Without Borders. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Also joining us from Lagos, publisher and politician Dele Momodu. Thank you for being with us. Here in the studio, Nigerian businessman and commentator Mike Olajide. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, it's okay for me.
It's fine. We can hear you now, loud and clear. Thank you for being with us. And also joining us, journalist Michael Kirtley, producer of the World Memory Film Project.
Nice to be here.
Welcome back. The France 24 debate, where you can join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter, our hashtag F24Debate. Cameroon's military claims to have rescued 24 of the 80 hostages seized by Boko Haram in the far northern town of Mabas, that raid coming just as the first Chadian troops had started their deployment to Cameroon. More from Aurore Dupuis.
Chadian troops to the rescue. Cheered by the population, hundreds of soldiers, tanks and armoured vehicles have poured into neighbouring Cameroon. Their mission: fight against Boko Haram. On Sunday, the Islamist insurgents burned down villages and kidnapped 80 people in northern Cameroon, once again expanding their brutal campaign outside Nigeria.
Men and women are dying, children are dying, so we can't remain indifferent to the situation. That's why we have decided to deploy our troops.
According to Cameroon's defense ministry, 24 hostages have been snatched back from the hands of Boko Haram.
They were freed as defense forces pursued the attackers who were heading back to Nigeria.
The Nigerian border is long and porous, and Boko Haram wants to carve out an Islamic state across the region. It's already seized several towns in northeast Nigeria and is increasingly threatening its neighbours, Chad and Cameroon. During a visit to Germany, the chair of the West African body ECOWAS has called for help.
I believe that countries in the region are capable of raising troops to intervene militarily in the Boko Haram issue. We will appreciate logistical support and other support that our European partners are able to give.
Since 2009, Boko Haram has killed at least 13,000 people and forced more than 1 million from their homes.
All right. First of all, Julie Owono, this news, this cross-border raid, there had been skirmishes before. We saw it just a couple of weeks ago. But a raid where they actually kidnap people. How are Cameroonians reacting?
We are very scared, and it's a state of war, basically. Cameroon is at war against terror, against invasion from forces, which we don't know yet truly about. I mean, we don't really truly know what Boko Haram is made of as of today. So it was perceived very badly by Cameroonians, but at the same time, Cameroon people are encouraging their troops, which are facing a huge danger. We have to remember that Cameroon was well known in the region for being a very peaceful country, because it is true that for the past 30 years we haven't had any real conflict in the country.
And this is an area until recently that was a tourist destination.
Of course, it was, especially the far north, which is now the theater for Boko Haram attacks. But at the same time, it's not. I would say it's not even a surprise, because we are talking about a space where this concept of borders is very vague, we have to be honest, where people for many centuries have been traveling and, you know, exchanging. It's an area for people from merchants to go from a place to another. So it's not really surprising that also these type of you know, dangers cross the border and, you know, spill over in the region.
Michael Kirtley, last Friday, we got the news, Chad's parliament approving the sending of those armored columns into Cameroon. What were your thoughts at the time, and did you think there would be this cross-border raid that would follow?
I think it's totally normal that Chad would be very concerned about what's happening with Boko Haram, because that corridor up through Cameroon is a very important lifeline from the coast to Chad, and it also includes other landlocked countries like the Central African Republic. So that particular situation has to be of great concern to the Chadians, and the Chadians also, let's not forget, they're battle tested, and they probably feel that they are better equipped to handle such insurgencies. As Julie was just saying, Cameroon is not in the habit of fighting off insurgencies and warfare, whereas Chad was a major participant in northern Mali and in other theaters in West Africa. So I think, as far as Boko Haram's response, if it is a response, I mean, we don't know we don't know, how can we read the minds of Boko Haram? But it seems to me that they're testing the waters. Boko Haram is going to be doing that. I mean, their tentacles are very much into Cameroon. Even if they're not invading Cameroon, I'm sure that they have various messengers and sympathizers even inside Cameroon for one reason or another, and also in Niger and also in Chad. So I think that we'll see this probably more and more. I heard just yesterday that in this big riot that took place in Zander and in Niamey in Niger, especially in Zander, which is closest to the area where Boko Haram occupies, there were people wearing the flag of Boko Haram in the demonstration that took place. So I think there's a mixture both of what Boko Haram wants to do itself and how other people in the area are relating to it. Most people are afraid, but some people are getting money off of Boko Haram. Some people are finding a meaning in life through Boko Haram, and some people are dying from Boko Haram.
Deli Mamoudou, the fighters of that radical sect, they pop up on the banks of Lake Chad in Baga. Then it's more than 200 kilometers away that they launch these cross-border attacks against Cameroon. Are you surprised? All right. Deli Mamoudou, can you hear us in Lagos?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
I was saying, are you surprised that Boko Haram is able to strike once by the banks of Lake Chad, then over by the Cameroonian border and inside Cameroon?
Well, I mean, the capacity for destruction that they have shown, it's unbelievable. And I think that the African Union would have to do something urgently, because I don't think that our individual countries can cope with the spate of attacks right now.
What was your reaction when you saw Chad was moving down to help out the Cameroonians?
Well, I felt, I mean, it's something that should be done and that should have been done. We need such collaborations at this moment. It's obvious that if care is not taken, all those countries within the scope of Boko Haram will be in big trouble, or even bigger trouble than what we are seeing at the moment. So we urgently need people to come together, the countries to come together, leaders, to find a common and lasting solution.
All right, bring in the African Union, you're saying. Mike, do you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. I think this is not a Nigeria problem. It was, some neighbors thought it was a Nigeria problem at the beginning because they had safe haven in some countries at the beginning. Now it's an African problem. And if you don't take care, it will be a bigger problem. So we need to collaborate. Forget our differences. There are some countries with Nigeria that were not very friendly. We should put that aside and go together. If not, then we'll lose. And I think we can win if we come together.
But hang on a second here. Nigeria, with the largest army in West Africa, shouldn't they be the ones leading the charge, not the African Union or somebody else?
And as you've seen, they are in different countries now. You know, you cannot just cross the border and go to Chad without the authorization of Chad, or go to Cameroon. So it's really, I understand there was a meeting here in France by François Hollande, where some countries, the neighboring countries of Nigeria, met with Nigeria. They pledged to do something together. I haven't seen much since then. We should really...
That was back in the spring.
Yes, yes. So we should really do it now, before it's too late. We should work together and make sure we really collaborate, because these guys are looking for safe havens in one country or the other.
All right, a lot of reactions coming in. Céline Bardet, a human rights lawyer, saying it's time for Good Luck Jonathan to show a bit of concrete and coherent policy on Boko Haram. Gotten a lot of reactions like that one. Deli Mahmoudou, obviously, if you're chasing Boko Haram and you're the Chadian army, you can't just stop at the border then.
You see, the problem I see, I would like to react to the issue of asking Nigeria to take a lead role in the fight against Boko Haram. The landmass we're talking about is a major challenge. And I think the Nigerian military is overstretched at the moment. The African Union and even beyond Africa must come in to do something. And if you see international forces playing one role or the other in Syria, in Iraq, I think Africa should not be left alone. I don't even think Chad alone can deal with the situation at the moment. It's getting more and more volatile by the day. And it's a shame that the relationship between Nigeria and the United States of America in particular broke down. I don't know what went wrong. And Nigeria now is looking towards Russia even for ammunition. I don't know. But I think it has to be a continental and international effort.
Well, to answer your question, Karen Attia, writing in the editorial pages of the Washington Post this Monday, said that Nigeria's government canceled the U.S. training after the U.S. declined to give the there's a quote, corruption-stricken military attack helicopters. Basically, the West upset with always being asked to give new and fresh equipment to a Nigerian army that squanders it.
Well, I don't know the details. I read the interview with the American ambassador to Nigeria, I think about a week ago, lamenting himself about the collapse of that military cooperation between Nigeria and the United States. Since neither of the sides have told us precisely what the problem is, but I think we shouldn't give up. America still has a great role to play in the world, and especially at this time in the fight against terrorism, because it is Nigeria today, it is Chad, it is Cameroon. We don't know where next.
All right. Tamba reacting on Facebook, Africa should take care of such a dangerous development. It's not the West's problem to be coming to our aid at every given time. I see Michael Olajide shaking his head, nodding his head in approval.
I agree with you guys.
Okay, agrees with Tamba there. The head of the African Union, echoing remarks made by the acting chair of ECOWAS, Ghana's president, the ECOWAS, the West African regional body, John Mahama, who was in Berlin this Monday.
Nigeria has always known that the sub-region stands ready to assist them in the fight against Boko Haram. There had been no specific request, and as you know, in international diplomacy, I cannot take Ghanaian soldiers and invade Nigeria and say we're going to fight Boko Haram. There are norms that must be followed.
So they're waiting for that green light, Michael Kirtland.
Yeah, I think that it's a little bit too easy, isn't it, to say it's been, what, like years, and especially a year since Bring Back Our Girls, and the spotlight
Since the spring.
Yeah, since, well, almost a year. And the spotlight has been on Nigeria, and I remember so clearly how there was an expectation that Nigeria would do something. Nigeria has done very little in that time. I think that any answer that's going to take place as far as Boko Haram has to go through Nigeria. It's not going to go through Cameroon. It's not going to go through Chad. It's not going to go through Niger, and it's probably not going to go through France and America. If Nigeria doesn't seem preoccupied enough to take care of, or at least to address the problem, or with a better challenge to Boko Haram, the others will end up in a kind of a containment that will protect their borders as well as they can. But I doubt at this point that you're going to get an interventionary force going into Nigeria without the full backing and participation of the Nigerian army. And the political will, for some reason that seems a little obscure, doesn't seem to be very present in Nigeria at this point. Perhaps after the elections.
Doesn't seem present to let in those foreign troops to help.
I can't speak for that. Maybe they would allow them to cross the border to chase some militia. But I think that, on the other hand, the political will to actually confront Boko Haram straight on, that doesn't seem to be there.
Dele Mahmoudou, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with you. Right now, the leadership of Nigeria is very preoccupied with elections in less than 30 days away. And practically speaking, I doubt if President Jonathan will be in the frame of mind to do anything about Boko Haram right now. I mean, everything is about winning the election. The opposition and the ruling party, they had loggerheads already, and I think Boko Haram is secondary to them. It's a shame, but that's what we have to deal with. Hopefully, by the time the elections are over, maybe they will be able to return to it if we're still alive by then.
Do it now.
Still alive by then, Julia Wono.
Well, I'm very surprised by some of the things that have been said, and regarding specifically the interest of Nigerian authorities for such a huge problem. For me, Boko Haram is most of all an African contemporary tragedy. We are talking about a region, northern Nigeria, the Lake Chad Basin, to be more global, which is an impoverished region.
The most impoverished region.
The most impoverished region, but nevertheless one of the most populated region, because I think latest estimates say that there are 45 million people living there. It's huge. It's nearly, I think, a quarter of the population from Nigeria, Cameroon and Chad altogether. So if you leave these people alone without any, future, without any perspective, without infrastructure, without education, without the basic subsistence means that they need.
And when you hear Dele saying, well, it's probably all going to be on hold till that February 14th election.
Excuse me, but 2,000 people have just died, and we don't even know how many have died. The Nigerian authorities, which are supposed to be a country which is supposed to be the first African economic power, is unable to tell us exactly how many people have died, is unable even to get into that zone. It means that one part of the Nigerian territory has been amputated, and it's quite. I mean, for me, it's serious as a citizen. It's very serious. It's even more serious because as a citizen, I'm seeing the consequences, the future consequences of such threat to spread. So it's really a tragedy that neither the Nigerian leadership, neither even the Cameroonian leadership, although a week ago he called the international community and neighbor countries as well for help, but I think it was a bit too late. It's been years that Boko Haram has been doing such thing. And it's crazy to think that, as we've been thinking for so long as Cameroonians, that no, Boko Haram would never pass the border. But what borders are we talking about?
It's past that border. We're going to pick up on that point when we come back. Stay with us. You're watching the False 24 debate.